I'm making myself proud. I'm making the previous version of me proud first, who wanted this, who wanted to make this kind of impact. Separately from all of this, like when I'm selling or when I'm putting together offers, I have a playlist. If I'm starting the day and I know I have a lot to do with that day, I start with my non-negotiables. I get a walk in, I get workouts in, I have food that I love, all these small things to make sure that I'm not just like pushing myself, hustling hard, checking things off the list. I think when people talk about enjoying the process, the note that is mostly missed is that add some meaning to your day to day. Make it meaningful to you more than anyone else. Then the goals come next. Welcome to the Limitless Podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs become radically aware of their limiting beliefs, learn to value their worth, generate wealth, and to thrive as a magnetic brand leader. I'm your host, Jamie Ratermann, a six-figure holistic business coach. I've helped over 100 rebellious entrepreneurs master marketing, embody leadership, and say fuck it to the hustle. Let's dive in. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to another episode of the Limitless Podcast. I'm just excited to be here. Let me just say that. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited you're listening. I'm excited you've all been listening to episodes. I've been paying attention, and I want to bring you into the end of Q1 and into Q2 feeling even better about yourselves, feeling really good about the way in which you're going to approach what you learned in the first 3 months of the year and be able to come through in the next 3 months. We're going to talk about why you didn't hit your Q1 goals. I know it's like even the thought that this is the end of March, that we are entering into spring, all the things, I might feel like, wait, where did the time go? But in general, this is a really good time to reset your foundation, making sure you're feeling really good about how you're going to approach April through June differently than you did January through March. So if you are like any other entrepreneurs that I know, many of my clients right now, you are likely thinking about these big goals that you set for yourself in the year, either you're feeling behind or maybe you're on track. But this episode is for those who might be feeling guilty around not reaching their goals, frustrated maybe that you've done all the things, but you haven't hit the mark, that things aren't happening how you want them to. Or even on top of that, maybe you had a really good Q1, but you were wanting to make sure that you walk into the second quarter of the year feeling differently, maybe feeling more nurtured, maybe feeling more powerful in the way in which you approach your goals, especially if you were going all at it. Maybe you're feeling a little depleted. We want to approach Q2 feeling a lot differently than we did Q1. We want it to be better, right? So let's talk about some common goals that you may have set for yourself as an entrepreneur. Maybe you decided you wanted to hit 5,000 followers on Instagram, over on TikTok. Maybe you wanted to hit 1,000 subscribers in your emails. Who knows? Or common one that you wanted to hit that 10K revenue. And you wanted to make sure that you hit 10K within a month's time. And in general, you're wanting to continue that. You're like, okay, I didn't hit it in the Q1. Now, how can I do it differently in Q2? All of these are strong goals. You absolutely should be able to hit these goals, but it's all in how you approach them. Here's what's truly wrong with them. Simply setting an external goal is not enough to get you going in the morning. In general, if we're just going, oh, okay, in the distant future, I want to have 5,000 followers. In the distant future, I want to bring in $10,000 in revenue. And this works for your personal goals. In the distant future, I want to be stress-free. In the distant future, I want to feel healthier, whatever it might be. But the idea is that we want to see that it's a problem whenever we're just going, oh, if I haven't reached that, I'll never reach that, right? Or I better reach that in this amount of time or I'm no good. Just setting that external goal doesn't get you motivated. It makes you feel like either you have a lot of time or you're not good enough yet to get there. So we're going to, instead of move through the frustrations that come up of simply saying we're going to instead look at goals a little differently than thinking, okay, I got to do all the things so I'm good enough to reach this goal. We're going to adjust that a little bit. Most people follow the SMART system. I'm sure you've all heard of this, but I'm gonna come out with a bold statement here. The SMART system of goal setting doesn't work. I even like wrote in my notes here. Yes. I know. I know. It does seem like it makes sense. It does seem easy to consider, but it's really for a machine. It kind of takes the human element out of it. Instead of understanding we have feelings, we're going to have moods, we're going to have, in general, frustrations. There's things that come up along the way. So I want to introduce you to a different system instead that actually is proven to work with how we as humans actually achieve goals. And in doing it this way, you're not going to be kicking yourself in the process. You're going to actually enjoy it, right? So I have been sharing concepts about really what it means to goal set for a long time, but I actually recently started to dive into Ali Abdaal's new book called Feel Good Productivity, and it's just like it's a review as well as a really neat way to to be able to see how these all kind of come together. So before I introduce this framework, I want to just revisit what is a commonly known way of setting goals, which is the SMART system. So um, SMART actually is a acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So specific, you choose in general, you are very specific on what the end goal is. You want to make it measurable. You want to make sure that there's some type of number related to it so that you can see it. You want it to be achievable, so you don't want to overdo it. You want to make sure it's something that's within your reach. And then relevant to the business, what you're trying to do, making sure it's not something that's off the purpose of your path, and you want it to be time bound. Again, I'm not saying all of these are wrong. It's just more of this is missing some key pieces. So instead, as you're walking into April, I want you to set a nice goal. My gosh, it's such a great framework. I want you to set a nice goal. It never hurts to be nice, right? Especially with yourself and especially when you're a new entrepreneur. So nice is going to be, I love it. Okay, this is perfect because whenever you say nice, it's like be nice to yourself, but also be nice to the process. This is what it's going to be about, right? So Ali Abdaal defines nice goals as near term. So near term, I want you to think about this in a different way. Instead of what's normally a yearly goal, what's normally a month, or what's normally like a quarterly goal, or by this certain month I want to hit this amount of money. Break it, make it something that is within your reach. So you could just decide to create a number of weekly goals that you keep building off of, or you could do a month goal, or you could do a 3-month goal. Now for me, I love this idea. So I don't set yearly goals anymore. I think I mentioned this on an earlier episode, but I don't set yearly goals anymore. Um I set 12-week goals, aka 3-month goals. So I'll have a big overarching 3-month goal, and within that I'll set some in particular monthly goals. But you'll find out in a second how I approach this weekly. The second one, our I in NICE, is input based. So something that's interesting to kind of put through here is I want you to think about input based in a matter of time more than a matter of this needs to be my output. This needs to be what it turns into. So something that you'll hear is like, oh, input based means I need to get 30 pieces of content out per week, or or prepare 30 pieces of content in a week's time, let's say. Instead saying, I'm going to spend 2 hours a day, 3 days a week on building my marketing. So whatever you're able to accomplish in those 2 hours, you're going to feel good about. So instead of really putting this like I better produce this amount of something, or I better run 10 miles, or I better run these things, we're going to go, I'm going to walk for 30 minutes, whatever the distance becomes. Spend I'm going to spend an hour a day on my video skills. I'm going to spend 20 minutes a day on reaching out to others. So whatever it needs to be, the idea is you're going to block off what you can control, the amount of time you put into your goal on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, depending on what you want that near term to be. Controllable is the C. That's our next one here. Controllable. So focusing on actions that are in your control. So again, coming back to this idea is that what are you truly in control of? And that is yourself. You're truly in control of how you feel. You're truly in control of in general, like what your mood is. You're truly in control of how you spend your time. We cannot control, and I'm going to use this as a great example here. We cannot control how many people engage with our posts. We cannot control what happens when tech snafus happen. We cannot control how many people buy from us. All we can do is focus on the actions that create a better environment for those results. So something that I think is hard or make it can really make people feel less than is that when we set goals of I'm going to have 10K months and then you don't hit that measurement, you end up going, oh, there's something wrong with me. If somebody else can do it, there's something wrong with me. Where instead, if we're thinking of nice goals, we would want to be like, okay, how can I reach out to 3 people in my community twice a week? How can I spend as time on selling my programs within my content for 3 hours a week? I can control that more than I can control how people react to me, more than I can control if people are whipping out their credit cards. I know that by simply spending the time, I'm going to learn more, be able to understand that I will get that result, but I have to be patient in the process. So when we're talking about controllable, truly, what are you in control of? And again, how you feel, the time you spend, and your perspective and mindset on something. So making sure these are the things that you look at whenever you're deciding what your goal is. Last piece, which is I believe the most important piece, is energizing. So you want to create this environment of joy, fun, and pride in what you're doing each day to achieve your goal. So I just want you to imagine how this is different. So instead of saying, I want to make 10K within a month's time for my business, right? So this is just this, right? Versus if I say within a month's time, I would like, I would instead like to make sure I'm posting it 3 times a week. So I'm going to spend 2 hours, 3 days a week on my content. I'm going to uh, set aside that time. I'm going to make sure I feel good in the morning or I get into creative and I want to make it fun for me because through I'm going to make it fun for me by thinking about the impact I'm making or doing affirmations before I begin or playing music while I'm editing video. Thinking about simple ways to make sure that on a daily basis you are in the vibration of what you're trying to create. Whenever we are putting something out in the distance of what we want to do, it ends up being us trying to attract it in our present, right? So this is what I love about nice goals. So the night, just to repeat it, nice, near term, input based, controllable, energizing. Great. And like I said, I this is a term that Ali Abdaal came up with in his book, Feel Good Productivity, which I just think is a beautiful framework that really puts it concisely in how human psychology is actually able to make changes in their life. So I'm clearly telling you, go read it. It's great. I've actually listened to it on Audible. It was fantastic. So taking this just a step further, let's just put this into simple context. So we don't have to always run by the framework, but think about what this looks like. So you can still set this external goal. You can still do these things, but I want you to instead let that just be a compass, not this thing that you go, am I good enough to reach the goal? So we're going to switch it up a little bit. So, okay, yes, I would like to hit this goal. So I know that's where I'm headed, but you're but you're instead wanting to bring it in and focus on enjoying the process. So whenever I'm thinking about, all right, I want to reach that. So can I do to enjoy in general action-based tasks that will help me get to that goal. So if I'm trying to hit 10K, I would want to make sure I'm building a community. I'm wanting to make sure that my offer suite feels really strong. I'm going to want to make sure that I connect and understand how potential clients are going to relate to it. So if I'm going to enjoy the process, I'm going to have to think about what can I do to make sure my creative routine is going to allow me to enjoy this, right? So for me, that looks like doing reels. For me, that looks like talking to all of you on this podcast. I enjoy this so much. And what a part of it is that I get to share my perspective. I love to see what it looks like. I know that some of you I could relate to as a past version of me being able to, soak this up. I also decide, you know what? I'm making myself proud. I'm making the previous version of me proud first, who wanted this, who wanted to make this kind of impact. Separately from all of this, like when I'm selling or when I'm putting together offers, I have a playlist. If I'm starting the day and I know I have a lot to do with that day, I start with my non-negotiables. I get a walk in, I get workouts in, I have food that I love, all these small things to make sure that I'm not just like pushing myself, hustling hard, checking things off the list. I think when people talk about enjoying the process, the note that is mostly missed is that add some meaning to your day to day. Make it meaningful to you more than anyone else. Then the goals come next. So, how can you look at your work? How can you look at the tasks that you have to do, even the ones you don't like, and go, it's important for me to build my revenue tracker. Yeah, doesn't sound fun, right? It's important for me to do my revenue tracker so I can see my growth. It's important for me to connect and reach out to others so I can see how they respond to my messaging. It's important for me to do this creative work so that I can make an impact and create this lighthouse for people to work with me, right? Small and big ways for you to go, how does this impact how I feel about the work that I do? This is something that entrepreneurs get to have that I guess, in my opinion, corporate may not, where we are in general creating a business that fulfills us by design. We have tasks that we like and dislike doing, but in general, it's about us building this mission, this message, and helping others in the way that we decide. I mean, when I was applying to jobs that were any marketing job within a corporate business that kind of fit what I needed to, I was trying to fit their mission. I get to choose my own, which is beautiful. Enjoy your process. Find mindset shifts, create joy throughout your day, and put some purpose behind your tasks. That's what enjoying your process looks like. The second piece, if we're trying to adjust this a little to approaching these nice goals, I want you to celebrate small wins. I didn't say big wins, I said small wins. So if you have trouble with going, what went well today? Or what am I so happy I did today? This is me telling you it's time. This is me telling you that if you forget to see the positive and only see that you didn't reach that negative or that particular expectation you had, you're going to get burnt out. You're not going to enjoy this as much as you'd like. So I want you to stop and notice the little clues that whatever you're trying to build is happening in the process. Your work is paying off. It's just a matter of time for you to get that first sale, to get that fifth sale, to get that engagement, those new followers, to have that new partnership. It's just a matter of time. So one of the things that I'll use as a perfect example here is that one of my clients was saying, no one signed up for my program. Now, again, like like immediately I get to be this reminder as a coach for her. This is one of the ways in which I help her really build her mindset, release some of these limiting blocks. But she said, no one signed up for my program yet. And I sat there going, okay, what has happened? What is going on? Well, I've had a number of discovery calls that have signed up, and so they're interested, they're waiting. I had 35 people sign up for my lead gen that we built together. I've been posting every day, people really responding to my stories. So she rattled off all of these things, but decided that because the first sale hadn't happened yet, that it didn't matter, that there were all of these clues that things were heading in the right direction. It was just a matter of continuing, seeing what we're learning, keeping going, right? So whenever we talk about celebrating small wins, it's not just for that little dopamine going, yeah, I did something good or things are happening. It's simply going, take note of what is working. Take note. Don't let it pass you by. Don't go like, yeah, it's supposed to happen that way. Oh, no big deal. When you celebrate small wins, you're going to be able to just keep that motivation rolling. Like the moment that I have someone say, I really loved your masterclass, I'm going, damn, this is going to turn into content. This is going to turn into conversations. This is going to turn into whatever I want it to because somebody is immediately telling me, thank you. If I am showing up, I said I was going to show up 5 times this week and I show up 5, 6 times, I'm going to be like, that's a fucking win for the fact that I trust myself to do the things that I know I want for myself. That's a huge win. That's huge. So, first, make sure you're enjoying the process. Second, don't forget to celebrate those small wins. And the third piece here is to optimize from evidence. So, in general, whenever you are finding yourself showing up often, whenever you're being able to notice when things are working, take a moment to see, okay, how can I treat my business like a science experiment? How can I think about the data that's coming at me from the work that I've already done and build off of it? So let's say I've posted a few times about how visibility is more important than selling, that you want to build trust through visibility first and that in general, like you want to do that. So I want to take a look at, all right, when two or three posts that I put out within 2 or 3 weeks time regarding this particular idea. How did people respond? I'll see that one of the reels that was hitting some trending audio and had a really good B-roll vibe. People loved it. Okay, great. The story and the caption was good. Great. Same thing goes for the carousel that I put together. Same thing goes for the story training that I decided to do. Clearly, this is hitting the right note. So I'm going to create more content expanding on this idea going into my next 2 weeks, going into maybe the conversations I have with clients that are considering working with me. So when I'm talking about optimize through evidence, don't change up what you're doing until you know that the current way you're doing it isn't working. Same thing goes for when you're trying to build this routine that's going to build up to this external goal you're looking for. If you are feeling depleted at the end of it, if you are absolutely feeling burnt out, optimize through evidence. What is making you feel depleted? What feels like you don't have the time? Where could you make your routine work better for you? So optimize through evidence, reflect what's working, what's not, go from there. Okay, so we talked a lot about many things in here today. I want you to decide to say, fuck off smart goals and bring in nice goals. Nice goals are that near term, input based, controllable, energizing approach to making sure that you are creating a system to reach your goals that actually works with how you are as a human. That looks like making sure you, one, are enjoying your process, you are celebrating your small wins, and then, of course, optimize, reflect, and build through evidence. Like I said, it's not harmful to set an external goal, but if that's as far as you go, that's where it does become that way. You are measuring yourself up against something that you truly don't have control over. So instead, I'm going to encourage you to set these external goals and let them just be a compass. This is where I'm headed, right? This is where I'm going, but I want to detach any meaning from that goal. AKA, I am not going to measure my self-worth or my abilities to hit that goal if and when I don't hit it by some specific date. That is where I'm headed, and I'm going to focus on the input, the things that I have control over to make that more likely. Instead, find yourself attaching more meaning to your process. Celebrate your wins and then build your foundation from this. I hope this has been helpful. Now, if creating content that's converting for you is one of your goals, I've got something for you. So In the show notes, I put my free mini course. Now, this is something that has gotten such great reviews from anyone who's come in and tried it out. So I want to make sure you know what it's about. It's called Three Steps to 30 Days of Content. Now, I help you develop not only a easy strategy to follow, but a repeatable system so that you're showing up. But the most important thing I want to get across is that we are creating a content creation routine that is fulfilling. So I want you to get more visible. But even more importantly, I want you to enjoy the process along the way. I want you to enjoy that process. Until then, please live just a little more limitless.